There are two ladders in society: a financial ladder and a ladder that has to do with your ability to get things that you care about done. They're like two pyramids. The financial one has to do with the amount of assets that you can control, and the other ladder or pyramid, you can call it the power pyramid, has to do with your ability to influence, access information, access opportunities, your ability to get capital, to your ease of innovation. It changes your ability to get what you want done in business and politics, in life in general. They can overlap sometimes. Your position in one doesn't necessarily mean you're in the same position in the other one. And the country that you're in matters significantly. Being at the top of the pyramid, either pyramid in the US, puts you at the top of the pyramid globally. Maybe you're on the top of the pyramid in a different country, you don't have as much power globally. You have the power of the US, the military, the soft influence, all that behind you. You pay for it with taxes, but it's for that reason. So I want to look at the two pyramids and how they overlap. The financial pyramid from basic income, W2, to elite status, and the power pyramid from the general public to those making decisions that shape your futures, those who are able to influence laws, get things done, as I mentioned. No conspiracies. This isn't about shadow this or shadow that. This is about the actual pyramid, the actual ladder that you can climb, and how they intersect, and how that dynamic works. Before I get into each one, let me give you some stats. 41% of adults have less than 10K in assets, in wealth. 57 million people, that's 0.7%, that's less than 1% of the global population, are millionaires and control 48% of the wealth globally. 60,000 people, that's 0.001%, 0.001% of the global population, control 3 times more than the bottom 50%. These stats just for you to understand that the global financial ecosystem and understand the discrepancies or where power lies. The financial pyramid is more than just rich and poor. So many layers. You have people that are below poverty level, getting government assistance programs. You're in a position where basic necessities of life are not met. At that point, your entire existence is around surviving, eating, having shelter, supporting your loved ones. This is obviously the bottom of the pyramid. But you'll be also surprised that paycheck to paycheck, whilst you're meeting your basic needs, potentially, depends on the job, you're someone who's able to buy food, have shelter, you're still at the bottom of the pyramid, just maybe a layer up. Also, living in a better neighborhood, buying a little bit better food, getting the name brands and the store brands, although sometimes it's not necessarily the better option. Driving a little bit of a better car, all that doesn't necessarily make you climb the financial pyramid. The way we're looking at it is in terms of assets, in terms of the assets that you can control, you can use to get things done. And most people are at the bottom. You're looking at W2. You're someone who's getting a salary for a function that you perform, for a task that you perform. You take that salary and you buy food. Uh, you pay for shelter. And in this case, by the way, even if you're not renting, if you own a home is not your asset. I'm not talking about the home that you pay for with mortgage, 30-year mortgage, proposal to have it 50-year mortgage. This is not an asset. This is you basically still paying over a long period of time to own something. It's better than nothing for most people. But at the end of the day, this is not the assets we're talking about. And those people, you're still getting a salary to be able to pay for that shelter and pay for food. And if you lose that salary, you lose your ability to pay the shelter, you will lose that home, or having to sell it to pay off depends on your equity in the home and so on. So you're still at the bottom of the pyramid in that case. Even if you go up a little bit, if we're talking about doctors or higher paid employees in this case. You might look at them as maybe upper middle class. You're a higher paid employee. You're still performing a task for a payment, for a check. Whether you're an executive, I'm not, maybe C-suite, you're in a bigger company, you start getting a lot more money, which once again doesn't necessarily mean you have a lot of assets. You could be living a lifestyle that you spend all the money, but you're getting a, to talk about the doctors or executives or someone, maybe you're in the hundreds of thousands. In that case, most people at the bottom would think that that's making it, but your lifestyle changes. You have maybe more needs, a bigger family, a bigger home, better car. Like I said, shopping in a different place. Now you're meeting with, you have certain friends. Do you go here? Do you go there? And you're still in the same position on the pyramid. You have better respect maybe in society. You have better perceived status, but it's only that perceived status, and you're still at the bottom as far as financial freedom. This is really the name of the game in that pyramid. Assets equal financial freedom, your ability to use those assets to generate more assets, to generate more capital, to generate more opportunities. That is what gets you to the top. And the top meaning you have more assets, more opportunities, more financial power to get things done, of course. The key to get to the top is really business in this case, and it's anywhere in the world, any job, unless once again you're one of the very few CEOs that to a very large company and you have a contract that pays you hundreds of millions of dollars of salary plus equity. Most people would need to be in business to reach that level, okay, and have get to the top of the pyramid. It's not going to happen mainly from a job, and that's around the world. So if you start a company, grow it, work really hard, focus on growing the company, not just on generating money that is like a job where you take that money from the company, keep it a small business, but taking that to grow it to the next level and so on, get to taking it public or even private, but growing it to as much as you can, and that gets you to be at the top of the pyramid potentially. And the top, it's one category. You don't have to be the richest to be at the top, by the way. This is not a comparison, it's more of a category. In this case, also, you could look at so many of people that you perceive also. We talked about that perception, but you could perceive famous people, they could be an actor, an athlete, as top of the pyramid. In a lot of cases, it's not the case in a lot of ways. In one, they could also, their lifestyle is highly dependent on the continuation of that money, and it's not guaranteed, and that makes them also slaves to that system, because if you're highly dependent on the continuation of that money, you can't necessarily express yourself, your views. You could have certain views that get people. This is the name of the game. It's capitalism. They could not hire you, for example. The team could cut you. This is what it is. And if you're not someone who is the draw themselves, you're easily expendable, and you're highly dependent then on not rocking the boat, kind of playing the game, playing it safe, and just be a puppet to the system to keep that. So don't look at anyone maybe that's famous as one, your hero. Don't look at them as your hero, okay? Because you don't know who they are as a person. That's a different point. But also, don't look at the flashy PR stunts that are designed to get you to be obsessed with someone as the reason to think that they're free or they're at the top of the pyramid. Not necessarily at all. You could, though, however, if you're in that position, make that money, live a decent lifestyle, but focus on generating assets that give you freedom, and use that to grow and be free as a person and generate more assets, invest in businesses and so on. Maybe you start a business yourself, leverage the fame to grow it. And you see some celebrities doing that, or people that you know or familiar with. But mainly, it's being a slave to that lifestyle, showing off. Now you're in a certain environment. Once again, you're living up to that, and you're dependent on the flow and the continuation. You're almost like a highly paid employee at that point also. Maybe you're famous, but you're still an employee who needs a continuation, even if it's from sponsors, even if it's from gigs like movies or whatever. You're still highly dependent on that. And understand, once again, to get to the top means you have assets that you control. You have the freedom to not work. You're only working on things that you want to grow, projects to increase your assets, to increase, or projects that you care about, whether it's the purpose of it, whether it's an industry that you're passionate about. This is the top of the pyramid. The power pyramid is about economic using economic power to have actual power, meaning influence, meaning political connections, meaning ability to determine who is in office, or ability at least to somewhat influence who is in office, who represents you, some laws that can help your businesses or help causes that you believe in, or people you're affiliated with, and so on and so forth. It's about who you can call, who you have access to. Are you someone, if you're on top of the financial pyramid, can you copy that and match that on the power pyramid and be someone who can call any president, any CEO, any politician, get a meeting, discuss it, discuss things that you care about, discuss things that you want done, and they tell you or help you get it done? Can you get to that level? And this would be the ultimate goal. I'm going straight to the top here. The bottom of it is the general public, of course. These are people, you're following laws, you're everything is follow, everything is obey, everything is follow. You have no influence, maybe one vote, but also even that is highly influenced by public opinion, by media. You think you're making your own decision, but you're a part of a group. You're a part of a in this political climate, a race, a religion, even a geographical location, and you're influenced by people around you. There's no question about it. And you think you have that power because you're making a vote. You're highly influenced to make a certain decision. You're fear mongered into a certain decision. You're any different way, whether it's by fear, whether it's by positive references, whatever, or promises to your group. You're highly influenced to make that vote. Even in the democratic system, you're at the bottom of power. Your vote is highly anticipated, is highly influenced, and highly predictable, given the information that you're pre-fed, given everything that you're pre-fed. So understand, most people, I would say 99.9% of people, are at the bottom. This is actually where you have a major gap. It's not as many layers as the financial ladder. You have major gap in power. Most people around the world actually don't even have a vote. So again, in the US, at least you have a vote, but you're highly influenced for a certain outcome. And this is why you have the party system, because it creates predictability actually in who's going to win and what kind of laws are going to pass, and so on and so forth. But at the top, it's really about information you have access to, opportunities you have access to, that comes in forms of new businesses, of new ideas, of new innovations that you at the top and your circle are involved in, are creating, are they're raising capital for, and you are one of the first people to get access to those opportunities. That's how you continue growing your wealth. The saying, the rich get richer, this is the reason. It's access, it's opportunities, it's the ability to know things, it's the ability to get things under control, and your ability to also grow your businesses. That's why you see a lot of people at the top of the pyramid, the financial pyramid, heavily focusing on growing their power dynamic, whether it's involving themselves in politics with heavy donations to be very close to a president. Once again, if you're at the top of the pyramid in the US, you're at the top of the pyramid globally, but also you see them with presidents from around the world. That's why you would buy something like Twitter. It's not to say freedom of speech. You, as the bottom of the influence pyramid, are falling for that's the influence I'm talking about. You're being sold a hero, you're being sold an idea of something. It is not about saving freedom of speech. It's about power. It's about influence on masses. That would increase that perception, would increase the value of the companies, that would increase the perception of that person as a character, and would give them more opportunities politically, give them the ability to influence you. Now, not only the perception, but direct influence. That's why you would buy the Washington Post or any media or Paramount or CNN, or because you now have the ability to influence the masses. Not only have you amassed a lot of wealth via understanding the dynamic of asset accumulation, but also climbing the power rankings on getting closer to certain positions of power and closer to those who are maybe higher than you in power and getting to the top. Once you're there, how can you then influence the masses? Because that gives you a lot more power than being in office yourself. If you influence their opinion, if you influence their ability to vote a certain way, you are at the top of the pyramid. And you're at the bottom if you're influenced and you're even unaware of being influenced. I said there isn't a lot of layers. At least be aware of the influence you're under. That would be a step to the right direction as far as the power pyramid. If you're at the bottom, be aware of the moments you're getting influenced. See it when it happens. You would be in a much better place. But most people don't even see it. They think they're clever, but they also want to belong. They hop on the trend, whatever is trendy. The right is trendy, cool. The left is trendy, cool. Celebrity, your favorite people that hop on trends, they're there for that reason. They want fans. They want to be included in movies. They want to be included in shows, invited to things that increases their brand, gives them the ability to get more gigs. That's what it is. They hop on the trend. You look at them as heroes, and that's why you get disappointed. They are there to follow whatever scheme to keep them in the ecosystem, to feed their ecosystem, and their ecosystem is about attention. So understand that. Stop being influenced and focus on actual facts when it comes to politics, when it comes to voting a certain way. That gives you a little bit more freedom. Maybe you're not someone who can influence others. Maybe you don't have the ability to call people, anyone in the world. You don't have the ability to meet with politicians, but at least have the ability to control your own decision. At least have the ability to analyze things factually and not be affected by those types of external influences. And your goal should be to try to get to the top. Accumulate assets, and don't get obsessed with matching your lifestyle to others. Focus on accumulating assets and try to use those assets for good causes, for things that you care about, and try to gain power, trying to gain influence, but use it for the good. Maybe you would be one of the people that get that power and use it for the good. Use it to actually help others, not to just help yourself and your friends that are already at the top and to stay at the top, but to actually uplift and help others. Have policies that help others, have laws that help others. Maybe you can be that person, but starts with having the ability to decide for yourself and realize when you're getting influenced. So does your position in one of them immediately match the other? I already said no. You could be actually at the top of the financial pyramid, but you're not there with the power pyramid. A lot of ways, when you're at the top in the power dynamic, it's almost like a club. This is not a conspiracy. This isn't like a secret meeting, but it's natural. If you think about it, you're at the top, you're friends with politicians, you're friends with other influential people. You don't just let someone just join the club. You're in control of the ecosystem. And someone makes some new money, you don't just get to go. You have to build cachet, and some people have to trust you to let you in that club. So you somewhat have to play a game to actually make it to the top of the power pyramid. Okay, of course you can maybe lobby or hire a lobbying firm. Even that, there's people that own the lobbying firm. There's people in charge of those things. So you have to look at how you can enter the top of the power dynamic, and it's a game that has to be played. This is a fact. This is how society runs. So playing as you climb the financial ladder, maybe you start building cachet in the power dynamic. Maybe it's not about playing golf or whatever, but it's about maybe joining certain clubs, certain environments, getting involved with certain groups, and you build that cachet. So when you get to the top here, you can also look at it in the NFL. The owners have to approve a new owner. Think about that. Why would that be the case? They're competing. These are competing organizations in a sport, and these competing organizations in a sport, and they still have to approve someone buying a club in that league. they have to collectively vote. I'm not sure if it has to be a unanimous vote or not, but they have to somewhat vote, whether it's majority or unanimous, to get someone to join that group, to be someone who owns a team. Think of it this way as far as the power dynamic globally as well. This isn't a conspiracy. This isn't about secret meetings, but it's the natural case. It's the natural flow of things. This is how it is, and you have to play a game to make it there, to be able to rock the boat. Do you want to make sure you don't get in there and rock the boat and screw them over? So this is how it is. The organizations are in place, the clubs are in place. You don't just join. You have to play the game. They have to ensure that you wouldn't rock the boat. But you're also someone, you may have conflicting causes, and so you may have to build your own power dynamic. But you need maybe more people like you at those positions of power to build that. So think this is really how it works. So when you look at why things are the way they are around the world, is for that reason. It's how many people have assets and have certain views to push those views forward versus how many people at the bottom with a certain view that can't push it forward. So if you want your views pushed forward, if you want causes that you care about pushed forward, you got to make it to the top of one ladder, or one pyramid, the financial pyramid first, but have enough people there with you with the same views, or the ability to influence a lot more people at the bottom with those views. That's, again, why people buy Twitter, media outlets, Washington Post, etc. It's not about protecting freedom of speech for you. It's about that, what I just explained. There's also control over who can climb the financial ladder, by the way. As I mentioned, to climb that, you need to mainly be in business or be a CEO of a top company, which you're selected by the board. So understand that there are gatekeepers for that. To grow a business significantly, except for rare cases, you need a lot of capital. You need venture capital, you need loans, whatever. So those people get to choose who to invest in. So understand that the people at the top are somewhat of gatekeepers of who also makes it to the top. Unless, again, with extreme creativity, you're able to generate capital, reinvest it, so on, to grow up the financial ladder. You're dependent on appeasing the existing ecosystem and entering it and following suit with everything that's in place to be selected as someone who would receive that capital. Your inventions can be stolen. Trust me, there's nothing that maybe, again, you invent something extraordinary that they would run to you to invest in, but most likely there's a competition and they would choose those who they want to push to the top that match their views, because once again, they're already there. They're going to gatekeep the views that they have. They're going to gatekeep the ecosystem that they have. So understand that. I want to know from you, which ladder, which pyramid is harder to climb? Let me know in the comments. I also break down industries and systems and how they work. So if you like and you want to see that, subscribe. I'm going to be making more videos about different industries and different topics.